There is a really good question.
Please.
What is the mother of all skills?
So the mother of all skills means it's the root of the tree. If you
Yeah.
can change one thing, all of the problems start changing by themselves. It's going to the bottom of the bottom and fixing the roots instead of spending time and energy figuring out the fruits. What does it mean? Lots of money spent on leadership training of go fast, go far, go this way, go that way. All the strategies are going to be the fruits. None of them will work, and they don't work a lot of times because the reason, the problem itself is not in apples, but in the soil, in the water, in the conditions that support or do not support the roots. And that's what we usually try to find, not to fix the problem, but get into the internal reason of this problem to be on the first place, or the internal mechanism that if you understand and can manage it differently, automatically opens up something for you. So I hope it helps. So where I'm coming from Russia. Russia is the land of endless change. I don't think there's ever going to be any stability in Russia. It's a constant wave, and it's probably designed as some magic portal of land where there's a spiritual freedom is such a big value that no systems that basically are to limit this will sustain. So we have no roads, we have no stability in anything. And what it means that the mentality of people is incredibly flexible, and it's very easy to operate in a complex. We don't even have the word challenge. Can you imagine that? There are problems and then there is life. Life is one big challenge. So it comes from not just the mentality, but also the language, which is very flexible, and you can flip and flap the sentences in a very easy way. I've been teaching languages for 30, 50 years, and it basically shapes the way to deal with chaotic and difficult easier than it is for many standard Western kind of like heavy duty countries that rely on order. On top of that, my father was the car racer, not just the around the stadium guy. He was racing rally. Rally means you go into the woods, there is a car on the road, and you survive. You are on your own, you are fixing yourself, you're fixing your car, no one is coming to help you. And that was basically when we grew up. So we grew up with this feeling of everything is possible, the chaos is awesome, complexity is cool, off-road is great. It was fun. It was the childhood that we really had. And so this everything is possible. There's always a way. There's acceleration, and brakes are must be in that if you want to reach the destination. Sometimes you need to go around the tree. Sometimes you need to back up. Sometimes you need to get out of the ditch. And that's fun. I also was born in the family of the grandmaster of chess. She was the second person in the world and in chess in her time in the 60s. And she has this one big, Kira Zvarikina, and she has this one big paradigm that we, again, grew up with. Everything is a game, and you always win the game you play. So if you don't like what you're winning at the moment, change the game. But you always play the game, and you always win in that. So decide in this game if it's your game and who you want to be, the pawn or queen. And then began traveling the world, working in the World Bank, dealing with issues both professionally and through the philanthropic organization that we run and that serves kids around the world. That the vision is huge, and thinking big dreams is what really drives us forward. Because when we are forward going, we go into the passion of our life, we go into the grand reason, purpose, this spirituality that in the business you call mission, in teams you call purpose, in life you call purpose of life or my soul. But we have the tendency to become human or animalistic because we come from 4 billion-year formation of cells and organisms. There are mechanisms that weird us either to something we really like and we stick with that and get stuck, or to something we really don't want, and so we try to escape in the other direction from things we don't like. And so these gains and these pains divert us from moving forward to the life we really want. And that's what we're unpacking today, how to understand this, how to appreciate this mechanism, and what to do about this. And so the first question for you about the habits, those things that hold this driver control system of which direction we actually going to go in life. What do you think is the benefit to you of having habits? Let's put this in the chat. I'm really curious how we see the benefits to you from having habits. What do they do in life? Those who work with me in programs know the question, what's the benefit? What's the gain? If we don't understand what the systems that are working right now do as a benefit to us, and all of them they have benefit, we cannot change them effectively because this benefit unrealized in a new solution will never allow people to go, and it will get them back. So you're going to be moving forward with a big hook, eventually putting you back into where you started. So habits, simply decision-making, not having to think about every little thing that I do, awesome. Saving some time, fantastic. What else? Why they serve you? What are you grateful for to these little guys called habits? Routine, comfort, wonderful stuff. Being consistent. Awesome. What else? Headless chicken. I love that. Like this very much.
What I mean is that, you know, without habits and routines and rituals, you will be pushed in all sorts of directions. But if you have a habit, then that gives you structure. And also, I think it's a tool for self-reflection. Did I do my best to stay healthy today, for example? You know, you can ask this. Did I do my best to be present, for example? Kind of keeping these questions coming. That helps.
Absolutely. So I hope you understand that there's lots and lots of reasons why we have habits. They are actually not just the mechanism that help us, but it's the only way for the human body to survive in this world of constant adaptation to the reality. There's a reason why we only live so long, because we then need to produce the next generation that will adapt better to whatever new reality is. And that's true for any living organism. So the brain not just likes the habits, it wants it and it needs it to survive. But the question here is, if this is the mechanism that will work, whether you like it or not, how do I get in the driver's seat of this process and not end up somewhere in the trunk on the back seat of its formation, right? So what's the benefit of the bad habits for you? Think of a couple bad habits you think you have. What's the benefit of bad habits for you? Let's put it in the chat. It's hard to appreciate hard stuff. Brain gets to rest, question mark. So the benefit would be making you rest, right? Awesome. It's a coping mechanism for what? To avoid,
numbing your pain, perhaps watching Netflix, drinking wine, you know, opening package of burritos and not stopping before it's finished.
What's the benefit?
Yeah, to distract yourself, perhaps.
Distract from what?
From important things which are painful.
So remember, we want to go this way, but here is things we like. So we kind of stick here because we like it, and we do this over and over and over. Or we go away from, we escape. And escape means numb yourself somehow, or just don't see, so it's not there. And it could be drinking, it could be overworking, overdoing exercises, it could be eating for some people, whatever it might be. It's easier to do. So brain is limited. It must save energy. Brain eats a lot of energy. They say about 20%, which is still not the most energy consuming vampiring organ in our system. Liver wins it by 40%. But brain is expensive for the energy system. And when we talk about the body, not the soul, not the business, not the human nature and systems and structure and people, but the body that we also have, and that's basically the only source of our activities and thoughts and action and connection. Energy is the word. Without energy, we can't do anything clearly. But energy is very limit. It's a banking account that has a particular size, and if it's not properly managed, it's going to bankrupt. The difference is in bankruptcy, you decline bankruptcy and walk away or take a credit. When you bankrupt your body, you're done. And so it's all about energy, and the body will always keep you alive, not thriving, not thriving, not going crazy, but tries to keep you alive. Unless your other brain decides that I actually want to have fun too. And so brain, there's many brains in us, is actually a composition of multiple sections that, depending on where we are in experience we have at the moment, will activate absolutely literally a different you inside with a different set of programs. But no matter what, it will be a program that will be running something from your past into the future. And so the trick here is to start recognizing those mechanisms and then take control so the program works best towards where you want to go and less against where you don't want to go. Understanding that you have a capacity to change some ways which of you in this spectrum is taking decisions. We think that we want to be here, prefrontal cortex, and do these wonderful things all the time. That's the very late brain piece, human brain. But the center one is the one that remembers how your mom didn't love you enough when you were 3 and your bad teacher was screaming at you and you were not supposed to be crying because you're a boy and you're supposed to be a very good girl and never speak up and never do anything that will, make people unhappy, is all sitting here, and you don't even remember this, but this is the generator of your programs. But then here, the stem, when we're going down, comes that, the piece of jumpy reaction. If you run the red light, you're going to brake before you even think. You don't even know that you're thinking. It will break it from here. It will keep you alive. And if this is not a life moment, you would not even know what happened. So 90% of our activities are happening here. We have no idea. That's where the habits are coming from, here into here. And this is your dreams. So this is what wants you to go up to the gut and soul and purpose and mission and realize my life. And these two are saying, oh, not so fast, because there are certain mechanisms that we need to continuously be aware of. Even if we can't necessarily control, we can influence them. So decisions that we make, you heard that we make in between, 60,000 decisions to probably 500 for some who have 5 kids and decide for everyone, plus the 10 people in your team, plus for your aging parents. The point of this is decisions are always very difficult to make. You need to think, analyze, weigh different opportunities, and ultimately come up with the decisions, which is happening on this side. But then this comes in on, oh my gosh, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What people will say about me, what they would not say about me. So we activate the emotional piece of us, but we don't think about emotions because we're so businesslike. We can't be human. But nevertheless, emotions are actually making your decisions for you anyway. So you might as well learn if you deal with humans. And then we also have the lower amygdala, sort of fear-based pieces of our brain that make the whole brain absorb the energy that we generally have limited capacity. Decisions are not fun, and we like fun. Remember, we like what we like, and we go away from what we don't like. And brain is an absolutely amazing outsourced mechanism to older parts, which are so well designed in the last, over 1 million years, that they will function and keep you alive regardless of what stupid ideas come into your head. So it's like a Scrooge, if you know American, it's actually British folklore. It's someone who will constantly come with an idea of how not to let you do something that you will be wasting too much energy. Another important thing to remember, it will do this whether you're aware of this or not, whether you give it permission or not. It's going to go on the bus, and you're going to be on this bus, whether you like it or not. The question is, how do you get into the driver's seat, or at least more often than less often? So here is a summary visually for you, so you can understand basically when it's hard, the decisions are hard energetically, right? Being conscious is energetically hard. And then automatic, subconscious, the other part of the brain is where the habits really sit. The main word here, it's easy and it's fast, right? So there is a habit, but it can be by either default, and that's what most people they are, or by design, and that's what we want to build today. So a question for you, how long do you think a new habit takes to form? Put it in the chat what you know about yourself. I mean, you went to school, you studied physics and chemistry and astrology and astronomy and who knows what else. But what do you know about that mechanism that runs your life? 6 weeks, 21 days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, under right conditions, instantly. A habit instantly? That's an interesting idea, Scott. Bad habit immediately, good habit in months. Habit is something you need to repeat in order for it to become. So habit can be instantaneous, ad hoc one time. They need to be in the process. So there's a little bit of delay. Okay, so we get in the gist. It's 3 weeks. So the research actually shows that the average building habit process of medium-sized difficulties takes about 66 days. So when you come in and you do this for 3 weeks and now you should be ready to go, and then it goes away in 2 months, it's because the mechanism was not established enough. So it's not about change, it's about sustainable change that will last, an easy change. So it needs to jump from where the old was, unfreeze, make the loop, the leap, the jump, and then freeze it back. And that's the new habit that we want. That's the mechanism of change. And so hopping faster and stabilizing faster, that's the requirement for this change to be sustainable and not to bounce back because we didn't do this enough. So 18 to 254 days. That's a great answer, Thomas. You cannot be wrong with that. So let's talk about 2 types of these variations. The 66 days, according to the science research, is the general time for establishing sustainably change, a new habit. Easy types do really can be formed in 20 days or 3 weeks or 21 days. It's a statistic research. Easy habits can be done. The difficult habits actually go the other direction, and they can take up to 4 months, over 100 days to form. And if it's really difficult, it can go even longer. So when people come to a session with a psychologist or coaching session, like, okay, I had 2 sessions, I got this idea, framework, strategy, I'm done, it will never work because it's a habit, it's implementation that needs to happen. And in this implementation, certain things need to twist into this new reality. So we need to be thinking 66 days for habit, stretch 21 for easy, stretch 100-something days for difficult. And that means managing your expectations, or if you're leading people, managing expectations of people whose transition you expecting, demanding, or leading through. And this is, what does it mean? It means to calibrate expectations appropriately. What level of difficulty is this that I want to do for me? Make it super simple, scale 1 to 10. It doesn't need to be difficult. Think of a habit that you want to establish. Think of one habit, you can put it in the chat, something easy, like one habit you want to establish. Thinking of this habit, think how difficult is it for me on scale 1 to 10, and put it in the chat. So I would give an example. I want to start walking daily for an hour and a half, which is 5 miles. For me, it's not difficult, but it's sort of in the medium. So it must be 7. Okay, well, then my expectations should be around 66 days. Now I will be expecting how to hold on to this behavior for 66 days, not 20, not 100. Make sense? So what are we having in the chat? Class silence. Okay. And what is my challenge map looks like? Remember, it's not about the acceleration pedal. It's all about the brakes. Remove the brakes and the car will roll. It's not to change people. It's to stop the resistance to it. And resistance within you is your habitual automatic system. So going to the gym every day is difficult, 8, and easier the more you do it. So the idea here is to recognize that if it's 8, it's likely going to be close to 4 months. And so you start mapping out the challenge that I need some support system so I don't quit until at least June, July, August, September, October. By October 31st, what my challenge map looks like. Do I have it? If you're thinking of your team and you're trying to change that, think of the challenge map for them, discuss it with them, or at least have this perspective, how you're going to support people knowing that they won't change after 2 one-on-one talks a week, right? If you're doing with patients, if you're dealing with teaching with students, this is all expectations that need to be set and mapped out. So it becomes not just easier, but it becomes permanent. We want to get it down to freeze again and become subconscious, unconscious, new you or new them. And that is a very important element. So we talked about this invisible architecture. Research shows that habits form 43% on average, and for some it's even more so, in behavior alone that is completely unconscious to you. But we also have habitual emotions, and we might not like them, but being in a victim, constantly victimized, it's a habitual emotional state. Being in a fixer, I need to fix and save everyone, or I need to teach everyone, or I need to judge everyone. This is who I am. No, it's your habit. It's your habitual emotional state. Money is hard to make. You always need to work hard. This is not a belief that you have. It's your mental habit of thinking certain things. We call it beliefs, culture, our family, but it's sitting there under your radar and you don't know, so you will be working hard and never making money because it's that mechanism, that belief that it's consistently going to show up and point you to the place which will conform what you believe. So understanding that if you have things in your life that don't seem to work the way you want, you need to find this habitual emotional state, mental state, or active state, or words that you consistently say, and work with that in the roots, the mother scale of them. And brain will save energy. So if you don't sleep, if you don't eat, if you don't run, well, guess what? This 43% is going to be up to 90 because the body will always win. It will save you. But it's not going to save you this way that you want to go. It's going to be saving you quite the other directions. And you will be ending up with disappointment and unrealized skills and talents. And my soul is crying, right? And you need to calibrate. It takes time.
May I interrupt you?
Please.
Mariana wrote that it's easier to work than to take care of my health. That's quite interesting statement. And I think many people have that perhaps in mind. So how would you?
It is easier to work than to take care of my health because we are trained in our culture to completely disregard human side of us. No one wants to admit that we are 98% are monkeys, basically. It's just like not cool because we're these people who create things. But the reality is, if you're in a human body, you are bringing with yourself this ecological backlash of 4 billion years of formation, from cells to organs to complex organisms to finally bringing consciousness to guide these complex mechanisms. And now we're creating the AI, which is basically based on the human way of neurosystems, right? But the problem with AI is that it can go forever. You just push the button, it keeps going. And humans are alive. They're dynamic living organisms and they have energy. We'll be talking about this in a second. So not recognizing that you need to work with your body, not against it, because the more you can generate energy, the bigger and grander is going to be your contribution into this world. Your work will be better, easier. You will need to make less time to get to the same results or even more. You will have different relationship when you show up an A+ self than when you show up a C- Scrooge who barely makes it through the life. You will show up differently in your relationship with spouses, with children, in sexual relationships, in making decisions as the leader, because you will be operating from a different part of your brain. What you want is the whole brain being present. That's where your potentiality sits. Versus when you're tired, you're going to be operating from here, and this is the brakes. This says, don't go, don't engage, don't ask, or here, angry, disappointed, recognize, frustrated, anxious. All of these emotional states are the results of not building up energetic exchange with yourself better. And so when people come with the idea, I don't have time for myself, it's like, you know what? Close the business and go die. Because the process of living life cannot start with not appreciating and respecting your body, the gift that this earth, this planet gave you. And it's because of energy that has to generate everything that you're ever going to do, say, think, hug, impact, create, imagine, innovate, etc. So if you want to be the A+, you need to have an A+ body and energy. And therefore, health is my priority. If you want to be C-, then fine, be the C- body. Then don't make it a priority. And you always will be at C- of yourself. So Dr. Thomas Sadov, by the way, is our specialist in heart conditions. So he can talk a lot about body, but we are going to be talking about not just the body, but the body is the mechanism for your habits that create your life. So why does it take so long? So let's run through this very quickly. Imagine yourself driving. My kids go to camp in West Virginia for 2 weeks off the roads. And so we drive this Highway 81 and you go, whatever, 80 miles an hour. You shouldn't, but we do, 100 something, 40, 50 kilometers. And then you suddenly decide, why don't I just go to this field? You go off-road and you go to the field. What do you think will happen with your speed? You will think, right? And suddenly you have this, or trees, for example, you go off-road. Then suddenly you have this attention that you need to get focused on. And then you get very vigilant because you need to see everything because you're just about to crash your car if you don't pay attention. So suddenly you don't pay attention to your children anymore in the back seat. You turn down the music probably that was fun, but it's no longer fun because all your concentration goes into tunnel. I call it brain 2. A very tunnel vision, focus on the particular experience, right? But the same thing happens inside you when you go through routine that is really easy to something new. That new feels like a stalling of the car because you off-road. It doesn't know the path, and you can't go as fast, and you can't do this with so much fun. And that is uncomfortable. And the body says, hey, that's off-road. Let's go back on the highway. We like speed, right? So then you continue. And you kind of make a pass and a little bit faster, you start going a little bit easier, you stop falling into different pitfalls, right? It becomes a little bit faster, a little bit easier, not as much amygdala-driven, fear-based. It's a little bit more like, okay, I think I can survive this a little bit. But the body still doesn't like it too much. Eventually, you keep going and going and going, and then your path becomes thicker and thicker, right? It becomes something passable. And eventually, when a bunch of people join, it becomes so important that someone shows up and says, hey, looks like we need the road here. And so someone, Department of Transportation of Virginia, shows up with asphalt, with resources, with ability and expertise, and actually built something faster. So you now can go 40 miles, 50 miles an hour. And then eventually, so many people jump on board, and now it becomes sustainable and diversified change. Then a big highway is happening. And this is basically now you can go back to your speed, and now it's a new place where before it was the field. And so eventually, all those roads start intersecting, and it creates a mega system, which basically is how your brain operates. We built those highway systems ever since we are pre-birth, while we're still in the mom's womb. And then eventually we built and built, and it becomes habits. It becomes beliefs, it becomes a culture, it becomes me as mom, me as a girl, me as a boy, me as father, how you should be, what you think of yourself. All of this is the mechanisms we call psychic. So we have the soul, we have the body, that is the evolution. We have the society that basically shapes us into these mechanisms. And then we have the psychic that is processing all this information uniquely for each of us. And so it's that inside mechanism that, if changed, will create different outputs from inputs that we receive from the soul, from the body, and from the society. So how does this work on a minuscule level? This is the unique cell of the body. It's called nerve cell, which is different from usually the bubble that we think of. It literally has like fingers on the hand. And so each of these fingers eventually evolves more and more and more. You can have thousands of them. And it creates communication, shoots the electricity between them, and then they communicate, right? So it's like this highways being built. And then the more you do this, the smiling is building thicker and thicker and thicker. That's the asphalt that the transportation department brought in. And it becomes faster and faster and faster because it's protecting mechanism around those connections. We have about 86 billion of those guys inside our system. And each of them can have thousands of connections. If you put it together, you can imagine the massiveness of this intersection highway that we have. And the trick here is that, absolutely right, neuroplasticity is the ability that we are born with and we die with it. The ability to adapt means that whatever we practice, we walk this road, will eventually become the new way. Maybe not as nice and easy like it was building this before, but it is always possible to build new. That's, we designed for that. And neuroplasticity means that you can start walking off the road, recognizing that you need to slow down. Yes, opium is very important for us. So if you do not speak up, please put yourself on mute. So if the brain ability to form new paths is a skill, just like you have to go to the gym to practice your muscles, you will need to practice those new skills again and again. For how long? What's the answer?
66 days.
66 days if it's a moderate level, or more or less, and it depends on you, on your sense of difficulty for your body, for your psychic, for your mechanism. But the point here is that we are in this human paradox all the time, and not forgetting that we're human will actually get you way further in doing your business in an amazing way. Why? Because we are wired for change and we hate change in the same time. Because we love the change on one side and we are holding back to something to stay in the place of stability. So what it means that we consistently can activate intentionally different brains if we know how to do that. We need to have certainty and fun, because if it's too much, it becomes boring. If it's too little, it becomes anxiety-driven and fearful. We need both, but they don't need to be too specific to the solution. So for example, I can be afraid of jumping on parachutes and trying to fly, but because I can bring someone with me who could hold on to me. I'm bringing fun by doing together and certainty by being with the instructor, and yet I am afraid and I'm still making this leap, right? So it's creating the ecology of solutions to support you, understanding that it might be difficult, 1 to 10, it will be challenging, and you will rely on this for consistency and support, and it needs to be fun. Check if there is funness in your big plan, and you're going to be slowing down and going into the fields, and it's an ecosystem of change, whether you're talking about yourself, whether you're talking about changing your kids' teen behavior or spouses, or helping them, you can't change. Whether you're talking about leading people through new strategy or some sort of big shift in the structure of your business, all of this requires mapping this out. Change will disrupt you. Innovation, you create a disruption. Either way, the disruption is uncomfortable for human mind, but it can be fun. So how do you balance the two? Pivot versus transition. Pivot comes from the head. I know I need to change. Can't change. That's a transition and resistance of human emotions. So there are two problems with forming habits. All of them deal with energy. One is motivation. You will run out of motivation because motivation comes from a place in your brain different from where you want to do something. So motivation also depends on energy. And we need to understand that we are humans. Right? Again, we're not AI, we're HI. And humans are biologically have this with cycles, which we generally don't necessarily know. You probably heard of circadian, right? Circadian is morning, evening, and biochemical changes in our body depending on what happens with the sun. But have you heard of the ultradian cycle? The research shows that we basically have the metabolistic process in our body is designed in such a way that we spend energy and then we need to create energy, and then we spend it and we need to recreate it, right? So every 90 minutes, we have this ability to be in the peak. And then we have generally the cycle that brings us down to being exhausted for a little bit. And that is a 20 minutes for generation of new energy through your system cells. And then you have another rise of 90 minutes plus minus, and then it's another fall for 20 or so. And so when you ever heard of this 90-20 rule, when you work for 90 and relax for 20, this is basically the best way of generating this abilities to stay on track when you're in the high levels. And so notice when you are like, I don't know, you want to have a new thing. So I'm going to quit drinking today, or I'm not going to have this ice cream today. In the morning, it's so easy. What happens at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 10 p.m.? Suddenly this ice cream becomes unimaginably attractive and the bottle is just asking, please hug me, because we are in a different state of energy, and the motivation which comes from here is down, and we go back into doing what we've done. So the second mistake is thinking willpower. I should be able to do this. I'm a man, or I should be doing this. I'm I'm such an executive woman. You always will run out of willpower, always 100% of the time, because again, willpower comes from a wrong place of the brain that holds you back. It's acceleration, but there are brakes that will eventually stop the car no matter what you do. So what do we do here? We deal with the high motivation, but hard to do things. And then we have easy to do things that do not require motivation. Right? It's easy to go to the bathroom. No motivation is required. I don't need to motivate myself to do anything. It's just like, it's easy, just go. And it's so easy that you will interrupt your meeting and say, I'm sorry, I need a timeout. I'll be back in 2 minutes. And you go, and you never question this, right? It's just easy. High motivation would be go to the gym and have the routines and build my 6-pack so I can be great on Instagram. Well, it requires really high motivation. And the low motivation, hard to do things, is the failure zone. So you come to these people and say, guys, you need to change. And they're like, what? Why should I change? I'm so disengaged employee. Like, I have no desire to do anything anyway. And now you want me to do hard things? they're not going to move that direction, right? So what does it mean? It means that we need to be thinking of how well we do this game of success zone and failure zone. And what do you think we do successfully? What's the success rate or unsuccess rate? How many people fail their resolutions? Your best estimate. I actually give you hints in registration, but 95%, great. 99%, pessimistic, but close. What else? What else? What else? 85, 75. So the answer is 92 on average. Some fail more, some fail less, but the good news is that there's 8% that do something. Wonderful. But think of this, if your passing rate was 8%, can you imagine coming home, to your parents like, oh, I passed the test with 8%. What would they say? Or the leadership committee asking you, how was the success rate of our multi-billion-dollar strategy change? And you come up and say, well, it was excellent, 8% of people on board. So the 92% of people who are actually not able to sustain, and we remember 66 plus days, hard and easy, because they rely too much on the motivation, not respecting the energetic flow, and on the willpower or fear, which the second you pull the fear away, dissipates, and instead of going forward, you go either to avoid, fear will stop you, or to the old things that are familiar anyway, and you go back to this. So 5 reasons it works for those who tried. And there are some books that describe this in details. There's a research that I'm actually citing, but there's 5 things that were highlighted in the process. Consistency versus intensity, meaning that you do this every day without a break. You create a chain of success. I drink water every time I go to pee. Every time something comes out, I drink water to come in because I want to establish hydration, because it's important for my oxygenation and my quality of decisions and the quality of emotions, and therefore quality of my life. So hydration is one of the non-negotiable 5. Sleep, hydration, proper food, moving, exercising, and breathing, right? So hydration, easy. Something comes out of me, it goes back inside. So I have a glass next to the sink. Before you wash or after you wash your hands, drink a glass of water and move on with your life. The next thing you know, you elevated the number of your drinks in your system easily, right? Having this little axis, marking things. I don't care how much I do this, 2 push-ups a day, fine. Every time you go to the bathroom, I do 2 push-ups on the way out. What happens soon, you realize that you're doing this 2 push-ups like so easily that you don't even notice, but the body keeps the score. The body knows that you're doing exercises, right? Before I go to my office in the basement, for example, from the top, I will actually make a loop around the block. I'm going to work. Not big deal, 700 steps, would not change the world. But the body knows that, oh, we're going to work. And now we're going from work back home, basically back to the next room, but it doesn't matter. Body doesn't know. It just feels that we're moving, we're exercising, and it's cool. And eventually starts liking it. And you get confidence. Wow, I can do this. It's easy. Remember, easy? Motivations can go up and down, but it's easy that will hold you back. Oh, it's easy. Motivation builds, not from motivation to mind to whatever, but backwards. You start moving, which changes motivation because you activate your body cells. The energy starts flowing because the request came in, we need more energy. We're moving, we need energy. Muscles request manager. So the body produces energy, and then your mind, because now it's working not from here, but from a different space, it has access, it starts working in a different way, and you make different decisions. So you're dealing with the difficult situations, don't know what to decide, go for a walk. Get out of your little office, go for 5 minutes around the block, look at the sky, move. Movement, motivation, mind. That's how you change them. Not by tricking yourself, but to knowing how this easy goes. No acceleration needed, remove the brakes. You rebuild willpower. Why? Because when you start activating your brain, you activate the actual prefrontal cortex that you want to make your decisions. And this is where the willpower lives, right? So you activate your brain and therefore you unlock the possibilities. Nothing you need to do. You just need to stop being on your own way. And it's as easy as start moving. Just start. And then it brings autonomy and flexibility. I can do this. I don't need anyone to help me. I don't need the gym trainer. I can do this. And I can do this everywhere. I can walk in Paris. I can walk in California. I can walk in my house. So instead of being stuck in that place of motivation and then it tanks, we start on the easy to do side and eventually it by itself builds it up. So 5 things that will help you to make this mini shifts. There are more, but let's just go with 5. Choose some and go and try. Have this mantra. After I go to the bathroom, I will drink a glass of water. After I finish my work day in my little tiny bedroom, I will go around the block for 5 minutes to come home. And then say it. When you say it, you vocalize, you activate your muscles, you activate your acoustics. Your brain is all like, wow, apparently it's important because we're doing this. Your sensors become aware of your intention. Keeping it in your thought is it's a fly. It comes and it goes. How many thoughts do you have a day? Bazillions? And they stay in the flowy space, right? So saying it, having it written down, stick it to your computer, have this rule of law for the next 66 days. After I X, I will do X. Number 2, celebrate. Remember, you need stability and fun. So fun is making this fun so the body recognizes that it's actually great to go this way. And this way used to be fun, but eventually it becomes this way fun, and then this is fun, and this is fun. Teaching it to love it, to want it. That's a portion where you need to be able to celebrate intentionally. It would not be comfortable initially, but it will eventually become the new emotional habitual state of joy that most of us forget. Slow down. Don't change everything at once. Go 1 or 2 if they're medium, 1 if it's hard, maybe 3 and 4 if they're really easy. Like drinking water is easy and walking is relatively easy for me. 1 to 10. For me, it's easy. So I can do drinking water and walking and eating rainbow on my plate. It's easy. But going to the gym or dance class every week, oof. So 1 to 4, but you have to know how easy or difficult it is for you. Manage expectations. Make it visible. Put some crosses, literally crosses, and put some zeros if you didn't do it. Look for this trick. If your body sees the consistently, it likes it. You trick the body into liking what's so simple. Just make a cross. You activate your muscle, you activate your eyes, and it gets this, woo-hoo, we're changing, and the whole thing highlights and becomes part of the success story. And then do it together. Stack habits. If I go to the bathroom, I will drink. Stack fun. I love something, so I love listening podcasts and learning. I can learn 24/7. So I'm stacking. I only will listen to this podcast when I walk. And so now walking is attached to fun. I stack the fun to the process. Or stuck with people. I love this neighbor, so I will walk with my neighbor. And so you call and you show up and you have accountability. And this is how you can generate success stories. So I hope it was helpful. I hope you got some ideas of why you're doing what you're doing. What I would suggest or ask you to do, if you want to take all of this, the only reason you're going to change something is actually doing it. How you decide to do. You came in with some question in the beginning. What is the one thing, one habit that you either gonna start or stop doing, and how you would apply it? What strategy you're gonna use? We talked about finding those habits that you want to go this way, but this is the two ways that you generally end up. Finding something that you want to change, either become or lose, let go. By letting go, you need to find what you're going to do instead. You can't let go of drinking because drinking has a benefit. There's a gain. It's relaxation. So it's not fixing this not want to do things, but to find the opposite. I want to relax by walking. And when I feel I want to drink, I'm going to go for a walk for another 5 minutes with my best favorite podcast. So you're replacing the bad with the new, and you're making it fun, easy, and flowy for 66 days. So I'm curious what the feedback is and what you feel about this. How are you going to be using this? And what is one thing, put it in the chat, one thing that you will start doing as a result of this new knowledge that you spent 60 minutes on. Put it in the chat, because when you put it in the chat for people to see, the chances of you doing this are significantly higher because you actually let it out into the world and now you're accountable for it. Drinking more water, says Scott. Awesome. And you have the phrase, I will drink 1 glass of water after I do what, right? Walking more, Mariana, how much more specifically? Every day, okay, let's do it 4 times a week to start with. Every day might be too ambitious, maybe. It will be awesome, but make the expectations, the floor of expectations, and then go for the ceiling. And walking for how long? 20 minutes, 2 miles, around the block. Make it specific so the body has the certainty. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I don't have to make decisions. Make decision once and make it easy for the body to stick to it. Otherwise, you're going to have decisions every day. I walk at 6 p.m. I walk when I go to the office. I walk for 2 miles. I walk around those 5 blocks. Whatever you decide once and then stick to the same thing for 66 days. Stretching routines, start meditation before bed. Awesome. So having the ritual around, that's awesome ideas, right? Sign up for gym classes. Signing up for gym classes is not a habit. It's a one-time action. What is the habits that you're going to try to build? After I take a bite of food, I will put my fork down and chew slowly. How realistic is for everybody, though? Not so realistic. So let's make it in my 15 minutes eating time. I will put my fork down at least 3 times, no less than 3, and 3 to 7 times. Make it realistic. Something that it's 1 to 10 is easier to do will be 5, not 10, right?
Yeah.
Switch device after 7 p.m. Ah, wonderful, wonderful. One thing I will add to this, probably should have put in. Between the bad habits, make extra steps. Between the good habits, make little steps. Literally, you want to run in the morning, put your shoes right next to you so you bump into them before you go to the bathroom. But if you don't want to have your phone after 7 p.m., put it in your car and charge in the car. So to get there, you will need to make multiple steps. You won't go. And it works ridiculously funny. And I think it was in India, they came up with this idea. Instead of having the saving people were not saving. And so to get people to save more, it was an opt-in. You need to check the box and then the employer will take money away into your savings account, and people were saving like, I don't know, 10%, let's say. They flipped it. You need to check the box to opt out. One step, you need to check the box to opt out. 30% of people were saving automatically. Why? Because people are lazy. Not because we're lazy humans, but because our body is designed to preserve energy, and it's the laziness of the body, right? So make extra steps with bad habits. Don't have a bottle of wine in your home. You need to go to Safeway, Giant, or whatever to buy it. And then don't have a car. You just only walk if you want the wine. Fine, go walk. But by the time you triple think about this, chances are you're going to cut down your daily bottle to maybe twice a week, right? I only drink wine when I go to the restaurants. Well, you're going to cut it down, right? So extra steps, no steps. Make it easy, make it hard. Awesome. So are we happy with some new knowledge? Is it going to be helpful to you? Yay, I see some one sum up. That's wonderful. So at least one person is going to be sticking this into the reality. But you will do as great in your life as you're willing to work with this mechanism, what I call me, mind and energy, emotions, body. So your God thing right here with your soul and callings and missions and purpose of life is only going to be what you do with the body, with the structures of society that built you up, and how you can unbox those programs and rebox them. So you're going to be the swan and not the chicken in this chicken farm when you have a ugly duckling story. But the solution to this is your mind. It's your ME, mind, energy, emotions, me. That is now your responsibility to find the mechanisms that don't work and learn how to pivot them so they actually work for you. So your soul can do what it's supposed to do. So your body can be energized and happy. And so your people who you are building it for, whether it's business, clients, community, leaders, children, spouses, are loving you and receiving the A+ of you and not what's left after you serve the world and become a D- father, D- mother, D- leader, D- thinker. So how committed are you to be the healthy, wealthy, happy me? That's all about your psychic insight that takes the inputs and creates amazingness or not. So I hope I incited you enough to go and do something really good, get a glass of water and go for a walk and decide one thing that you're going to do and see how your life will transform.
Just to challenge this this process, you mentioned that if I understood correctly, that one of the big obstacles is resistance to change, because we are just that's in our nature, just to preserve things and stay in the comfort zone, let's say so. And now someone gets excited, wants to change, but actually you can't just change overnight to become another person or different person or with different mindsets. So in essence, what we need is certain shift in your mindset and shift in your thinking and shift in your understanding. Then it's natural that, yes, of course, I go every day to the gym, because there is, in your new kind of mindset, there are no other options.
It's natural at 10 a.m. It may be still natural at 12 p.m. It is way less natural at 3 p.m. And it's absolutely, gosh, what a stupid idea, by 7 p.m. Exactly. Because we have the energy cycles. Not respecting your body will always get you in the wrong mindset again.
Ultradian
and
rhythms.
There's this. Right? This is where yes, great idea. Awesome. I want to do this. All the executive decisions right here. And it's not necessarily that you are the different who. It's more like a bunch of who's are hooked to a particular way of ecosystem of state. And so it's possible, if you remember, to make it not automatic. I seem to be right now thinking from here. Awesome. Can I find myself a way to get here? The way to get there is change environment, change what you're doing. Like I'm right now, in 10 seconds, I'm going to be a different me. Why? Not because I thought of big thought, which still will be stuck somewhere here, but because I just pumped the oxygen. I got my blood going. I activated my muscles. My vagus nerve is moving. Now I am activating this thing because it just cannot not activate. And if I also do outside, and if I look at the birds and I see the sky for 2 minutes, the whole body is now moving. And now I have access to a different me.
Yeah.
But if I keep thinking, I'm going to visualize amazing relationship with my husband. I am going to be visualizing. I'm so visualizing. Guess what? You're staying in the same spot because you do not get energy from thoughts. You get energy from body. So
that's right. Yeah.
I would say less mindset, more of me. Yes, mind, but mind is the product of the body and constructs and the energy and the emotions. And
But
that's why me.
10 p.m. you can make it easier for you, for your 8 a.m. Brain, because you can put the shoes close to the bed, prepare your trainers, pack your bag, so that it's easy. The threshold is less, and then off you go.
The core word is easy, right?
Yeah.
So make it easy. And if it's not yours, like you ask me to do something, no way. No, it's just boring. To me, it's hard. But for Scott, it could be super easy to hop here and just pull this. It's make him happy, right? And Scott happens to be my husband. Guess what? Delegate. Ask the person who will love you enough to do this because it's easier for them. I don't cook. Well, I cook. I don't buy groceries. I hate stores, and I don't do laundry, and the laundry is just boring. I don't know. It just drives me nuts. My husband, not like he loves laundry, but he doesn't mind. So it's not that he is 10 and I'm 1. I may be 6 and he may be 5. But it's easier for him, easy. But because he does it, it's nice, it's soft. And so the hard thing of running tomorrow starts with feeling love from your husband who put the shoes, or your kid who loves to put things together, right? You can come up with creative solutions how to have things done without being you who is doing this.
Exactly.
As long as you're thinking fun, is it fun? How can I make it fun? And is it easy? How can I make it easier? Who can I make it easier? Delegate.
That's great. Yes.
So, I mean, everything that we hear is right. It's just a touch off sometimes because it's only right when it's stuck in this here. And then suddenly it's not. And then we're like, woof, right? Love your body. It's the best business partner you can ever come up with, ever. And that means being human. And human technology is the key to success. It's synergizing on your soul, God, whatever you call it, your body, which is the 4 billion years of evolution. Gosh, it's smart. It's wise.
It is.
And there is a humanity concept of how many 10,000 of civilization that we know of and constructs that it creates. All of these inputs come into one organism, one mechanism, and it's called me. So changing that's when we create awesomeness. With that, I really thank you for coming, and it was really cool. And as always, I run over. It's my typical way of living. But again, it's a Russian way, and you finish when the conversation is done, not when the time runs out, right? So, no, seriously, Russian really has past, present, and future. English has 12 times zones. Doing while you're doing after you have done something, it's like 12 elements of keeping you in the system of time. Russian, it's now, before, after, done.
So Olga, did you raise your dad's Volga? Did you raise it yourself? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the name was given for accidentally, but he was raised in Volgas, and I happen to be Olga. And Volga is also a big river, right? So who knows what it is? Yeah. But it is, it's really amazing how little you recognize that you have so much in you that you do not see. You just blindly don't see. And you're not just inside yourself, but you don't see it in your team. You don't see the solutions right here. You don't see your purpose right there. And then we go and look and search for it for the rest of our life. So in our programs, that's basically the search and stops here. You go inside and you figure out and you unlock. It's right there. We just make it visible. That's all. Yeah. And then make it a habit.
Yeah, it's interesting. This parallel, what you brought out in my head, like when I was little, I lived in the opera, basically. My mother was in charge of the costumes department. And then I spent a lot of time in the storage where all the, requisites and fancy whatever, swords, big bicycles, all the decorations, what were used in the opera. And that was like a magic world. And then that somehow ignited something which I'm very grateful for, because that's in my kind of spine and brain, just to always search for something like that, and that helps with, you know, all sorts of things, creativity, and also gives you a little bit more courage. It's really, it's forming your, that kind of experience. I can imagine what your dad gave to you is forming who you are now, and then just accepting that, and not and developing what you have already is more important than take another course of, you know, something and something and something. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and for you, it's such a natural place, a habitual thing, habitat, right? Habits,
Yeah.
that you don't even recognize that you have that. And
Mhm.
therefore, intentionally using this becomes almost impossible,
Yeah.
because it's so easy, then you don't recognize what the beauty of water for the fish. It doesn't know the beauty of water. And we dream to go to this ocean and see the ocean, and the fish is in it and has no idea. So it's super, super important to stop looking out there. Out there it doesn't exist for a good reason, because it's construct of your own mind, right? And it's all inside. And when they would just change the perspective, the RAS, the articulation system, we start noticing. So
Yeah.
the second you bought the red Toyota, classically, you start noticing everyone has red Toyotas, apparently. It's a focus, a filter, a filtration system of what is allowed in and what is not allowed in, and expectations of what I expected and what happens. That is where emotions come up. And we don't realize that we're dealing with expectations. We think we're dealing with emotions. So
Yeah.
it's just a tiny shifts and mechanisms of understanding how humanity works and using it as your friend, and not
Yeah.
trying to fight with the body, which always wins.